Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I am showing you a new deck from Pokemon Sun and Moon in the expanded format only. We've got Seismitoad partnering with Decidueye. We've spent a lot of time looking at new cards. We are going to continue to do that, don't you worry your pretty little heads. But I think it's time we started talking about new decks going forward. Now, because of Seismitoad EX, this is an expanded format deck only, but I think it could be an awful lot of fun. So, to start off with the basics, we've got Seismitoad, and if you've been playing for a little while, you will be familiar with this guy. The attack we're really looking at here is Quaking Punch. It allows you to do 30 damage for a single double colorless energy, which is fine, and it stops your opponent playing item cards from their hand the following turn without stopping you. That is exceptional. Now, he does have the attack Grenade Hammer. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 180 HP. He's a basic, so you can whack a Fighting Fury bout on him, put him up to 220 HP, and be using Quaking Punch for 40. It's pretty gosh darned good. Now, the other, and this is a very important part of this deck, is Decidueye. And this is incredibly important, because Decidueye has got an ability which is utterly spectacular, but does not have an attack we like very much, so we need a partner with him. The ability we're looking at here is Feather Arrow. Once during your turn, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon and place 2 damage counters on it. Now, I've done a video about Decidueye, link in the description. That means that you've got a Decidueye on the bench, you just get to put 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon or on one of your opponent's Pokemon during the turn. But then, if you've got 2 Decidueye, you can do this twice. So 4 damage counters on one Pokemon, or 2 damage counters on each of 2 Pokemon. 3 Decidueye, you can do it thrice. 4 Decidueye, you can do it 4 times. This means that 2 damage counters, or 20 damage, 4 times before you attack. And you get to spread this around. There's a Pokemon on your opponent's bench with 60 HP remaining. Use 3 abilities to KO him and put the other 20 somewhere else. Oh yeah, and then you get to attack as well. This is utterly superb. The problem with Decidueye GX, of course, is that his attack is spectacularly unspectacular, I think would be a nice way to put it. 90 damage, free energy. Now, the good news is it's double colorless and a grass, and we're going to be using double colorless for the Seismitoad anyway, so he can be used as an attacker here. He's just not particularly good. Couple times a game, shall we say. Now, for a while, there was a very popular deck, Seismitoad Bats. You would use Golbat to drop 2 damage counters when you evolve, and then Crobat to drop 3 damage counters when you evolve again. That means that on a really good turn, you might evolve 4 Golbats and drop 20 damage 4 times, and then that's it, because then you've got to find your Crobats to do it again. This is every single turn, so if you can get this working, this is like Seismitoad Bats, but much, much better. And let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that was a very, very good deck here. Now, there are some other cards you will need to know about. We've already mentioned double colorless energy. You need it for Quaking Punch. Because of double colorless energy, you may wish to play something like Special Charge, which will allow you to recover those double colorless energy if they go away. Could end up being very important. With Seismitoad being a basic, you could play Max Elixir, but you're going to be playing very little basic energy if you play any, so you are really relying on double colorless energy here in order to be using Quaking Punch. So I think something like Special Charge is going to be needed to recover that. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a second, Decidueye GX? He's got Hollow Hunt GX, which allows you to put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand. You can use that to get your double colorless back, and you can. And that is an option. Here's why I don't like it. Firstly, you've got to leave Decidueye GX in the active to take a hit. Secondly, it's your only GX attack of the game. And thirdly, you're going to have to break the item lock. And the whole point of this deck is Seismitoad in the active, blocking items, Decidueye dealing damage from the bench. As soon as you use Hollow Hunt to get free from your discard pile into your hand, you're breaking the item lock. And as soon as you use this, your opponent's gonna play something like an N, so they go from your hand into your deck. So rather than using your GX attack to put 3 double colourless energy into your deck, why don't you use a special charge item card to put 2 into your deck? That sounds like a better option for me. Now, you're going to need to use Forest of Giant Plants. This is what makes the deck so good. You can evolve up to Decidueye as soon as you like using Forest of Giant Plants. It's going to be too slow getting the extra damage off without Forest of Giant Plants. It sounds kind of silly, but let's just say it anyway. You're going to need Shaman EX to set up. Now, Forest of Giant Plants not only allows you to evolve right up into these Decidueye straight away, but it opens up other tricks for you. Devolution Spray. Evolve your Decidueye down into a Dartrix. You can then evolve him straight away using Forest of Giant Plants. As a rolling side note, I did check this before the video, although I was fairly sure to begin with. You can evolve whenever you like with Forest of Giant Plants. What Devolution Spray is saying is, don't forget you've got to wait a turn to evolve, but Forest of Giant Plants goes around that. So you can evolve, Devolution Spray, evolve again, and you can use the ability twice then. Because as soon as you devolve and re-evolve, it is a new Pokemon. And you can do the same trick with the supporter card AZ. Pick up your Decidueye, put it back down and evolve it straight away using Forest of Giant Plants. You get to use the ability twice doing that. New Pokemon, new ability. And don't forget that AZ can be reused with the card Versus Seeker. Now, as we're talking about doing extra damage, you could use Fighting Fury Bout like I said earlier, but as we've got to be in the expanded format here, you could use Muscle Band. You don't get the extra HP, but you allow Quaking Punch to do 50 rather than 30. That's quite nice. Now, other cards you'll need for setup, Ultra Ball and Trainer's Mail are a given for a deck like this. You need to get set up quickly in this deck. It is absolutely vital, so you need the consistency, and cards like Trainer's Mail and Ultra Ball will help. Given that Rowlet and Dartrix both have less than 90 HP, you could even use a few Level Ball here to help you be evolving up nice and quickly. And might I suggest Floatstone is fairly important here. Decidueye has... He doesn't have much of a use in the active attacking, and he has a retreat cost of 2. Now, you can use double colourless to retreat him here, but you don't really want to be doing that. What you want to be doing is putting a Floatstone on him so that your opponent cannot Lysander him and strand him into the active. Now, the cards I've mentioned so far I consider to be vital to the deck really working and running. We're going to finish off now talking about other cards that you may wish to include that I don't think have to be put in, but I am a big fan of putting them in. First of all, Espeon EX. Now, there was a deck that did well in Japan with this lately. The list I saw did have an Espeon EX. Espeon EX here is an awful lot of fun. Espeon EX has a brilliant attack for just a single energy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And I've always said one energy attacks are good. Oh yeah, and it's a colourless energy, so you can use whatever you like. Devolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and put the highest stage evolution card into your opponent's hand. I.e., all the stage 2s become stage 1s, or if they used rare candy, they become basics. All the stage 1s become basics. All the Mega Pokemon become non-Mega Pokemon. And this is really, really good. Now, I've talked about other attackers and how you don't really want to be attacking with Decidueye because you'll break your own item lock. Well, Espeon's okay, because Espeon wins you the game. You get 3 of your opponent's evolved Pokemon onto, say, 60 HP. Devolve them all down to Pokemon that have 60 HP, they get instantly KO'd. Espeon is a late game sweeper. What you do with Espeon is make sure that your opponent's Pokemon will be KO'd when they're devolved by putting enough damage counters on them with Decidueye. Then you devolve them with Espeon, win the game, and oh no, you've broken the item lock, but your opponent's not going to have another turn. Espeon is not going to work every game. It's one card in your deck. I am a huge fan of using Espeon here. because there's games it's going to win. Now, you could use basic grass energy so that you can use Decidueye's attack. It is a grass and a double colourless for 90. It's not complete and utter garbage. Could be a nice option. And it's nice to have basic energy for if your opponent is using something like Promo Jirachi and really locking you out of special energy. It's nice to have some basic. The other option is that you go ahead and use basic water energy so that you can use Seismitoad's Grenade Hammer, which does do more damage. You could play Revitalizer, which helps you to recover all the parts of your Decidueye line if they get knocked out or if you have to discard them. The other option, of course, is you play Battle Compressor to discard them. Then you use Revitalizer to pull them out of the discard, and as long as you've got Forest of Giant Plants down, evolve them up straight away. Bit clunky, but you might be using Battle Compressor anyway, in which case this is a fun little tech. Now, this deck really plays, I am going to item lock you, I'm going to slow you down, and I am just going to put damage on with Decidueye. You're not really putting down huge damage with your attack. You use Decidueye to place a lot of damage, and then you slow them down, which is why we're using Seismitoad here. Seismitoad's really good at disrupting your opponent, slowing them down. But there are some supporter cards we can use to help. Xerosic to discard tools and special energy, or Team Flare Grunt to discard energy from the active. One I really like here is Delinquent, making your opponent discard 3 cards from their hand. Be careful though, because Forest of Giant Plants is vital in this deck. Don't play Delinquent and force yourself to discard Forest of Giant Plants at an inopportune moment. Now, there are some other options. These are ones which weren't in the Japanese deck, but I think could be a lot of fun going forward. One option I quite like, and I'm unsure about this, but it could be fun if nothing else, Burnett from Roaring Skies. Now, it's got the Delta Evolution ability, which means you don't have to wait a turn to evolve him. You don't need a stadium, you can evolve straight away. For 1 Psychic Energy, so you need to play Psychic Energy, but as discussed, you don't need to play any particular basic energy here. Evolution Jammer. Your opponent can't play any Pokemon from his or her hand to evolve his or her Pokemon. Now they can still use cards like Wally and Evo Soda, and then they could always just play a Pokemon Ranger to turn that off and then evolve. But against evolution decks, if you can stop them evolving with Burnett while spreading energy round with Decidueye, it could be an awful lot of fun. I don't think Decidueye Burnett is going to be a great deck. I do think an expanded Decidueye Seismitoad is going to be a good deck. But you could play this in Standard, because Burnett is legal in Standard, and if nothing else, you could just play a 1-1 or a 2-2 line of this as a fun little tech, as an extra attacker, to really shore up the game against evolution decks. Although, to be honest, you should have a pretty good time with Decidueye and Espeon anyway. Something to think about. You could use Hypnotoxic Laser to poison them and do extra damage. The problem is, as we all know by now, Hypnotoxic Laser is best used when you are having Burbank City Gym in play, and you can't really put Burbank City Gym in play because you're really reliant on Forest of Giant Plants. Hey ho, it was a nice thought. Now, we've talked about GX attack, and I have said I am not a fan of Decidueye GX's GX attack. I think most of the time you'll probably end up using it for special energy. I'd rather use special charge. There is, however, one GX attack that I do want to use, and that is Tauros GX. He's uses it for a double colourless energy. Oh wait, we're playing that anyway. Mad Bull. 30 damage times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. So what you do here is you play Ninja Boy. You're going to have a Seismitoad in the active position anyway. If there's a Pokemon you really need to KO, or just to take your last couple of prizes, or if you need a big KO or whatever, you just use Ninja Boy, you switch into Seismitoad, and then you use Mad Bull GX to take a big KO. Then playing Ninja Boy is going to be good. Start with a Rowlet, Ninja Boy into Seismitoad, double colourless energy, you're off with Quaking Punch. Need to use your Espeon, Ninja Boy your Seismitoad into Espeon, you'll have the damage on there already, you won't need to switch. I mean, Ninja Boy in this deck I love, because it helps you get that turn 1 Seismitoad, and it helps you switch into Espeon. I really like Ninja Boy Tauros as a tech. I think it works brilliantly here. You don't have a GX attack to use, so why not, quite frankly? Now, one more card, and I might be going a little bit out there with this, but I'm a big fan of this. As it's expanded, why don't we play Snorlax? His ability stops your opponent retreating, and while they're stuck in the active and can't retreat, you can just sit there dropping damage with Decidueye. Now he gets turned off by Garbodor and Texmaniac, and he's a basic, so he'll also be turned off by Silent Lab. But in some games, let's say you don't have the energy, you can't find a double colourless, you Ninja Boy into a Snorlax, or even just retreat into a Snorlax, stop your opponent retreating, and then just sit and pile damage around. It could be a lot of fun. The key deck here is Decidueye and Seismitoad. Espeon is a fun tech, Tauros is a fun tech, Snorlax could be a fun tech. Gonna be honest, Banette, I might be going a bit too far, but there is room for hilarity there. The main cards here are Double Colourless, Forest of Giant Plants, Shaman, Devolution Spray and AZ, Muscle Band and Fighting Fury Belt, and then your Floatstone. All the others are just fun little techs to be using. But make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, in the expanded format, this could be absolutely amazing. Let's say you're playing against a Trevenant deck, and you've got 3 Decidueye on the bench. They can't bench a Phantump. Because the second they bench a Phantump, you just use 3 abilities, KO that Phantump straight away, and then there's nothing they can do about it. That is how good this deck can be. And we all know Seismitoad's good anyway. So you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. Please use them both. I will be your friend. You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassy, and the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.